A lot to talk about. Let's bring in Peter Vincent for more on this. He's a counterterrorism and law enforcement expert who also represents BORDERPOL, a nonprofit focusing on international law enforcement. Peter, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, Asiya.
Let's talk about some of these proposals. We're going to put them on the screen, and I'm going to read them out to you. There are some controversial ones, and there are some that seem to have the support of the country and the Interior Minister. The first one, people of dual nationality will lose their German citizenship if they fight for terror groups. Quicker deportation of foreign criminals, extra personnel, equipment, and surveillance powers for the police. So before we get to the more controversial ones, what do you think about these, and are these effective tools?
There are a number of effective tools within this package. There will ultimately be 27 different measures that will be discussed a week from today, next Thursday in Berlin with the 16 different state ministers. I think certain things like increasing the number of federal and local police officers, which is part of the proposal, by 15,000 between now and 2020 is a very good idea. It's an excellent idea. I also think that additional surveillance, including closed-circuit television, video surveillance of transportation hubs, including airports and train stations, is a very good idea. There are other ideas, other proposals, one of which you mentioned, and that is a stripping of dual nationality for individuals that may, in fact, have the opposite effect and may be counterproductive.
All right, so let's talk about some of the more controversial things that are being discussed. Germany's Interior Minister says he is not necessarily for this idea, and it will be banning burqas in public, and he says you cannot ban everything that you reject. So that's one issue. The other one is easing medical confidentiality laws. This is an issue between privacy and security. Do these types of proposals really have a chance of becoming laws?
They have a chance. It's interesting that the Interior Minister has walked back his positions on those. Originally, a couple of days ago, when these proposals were leaked to the media in anticipation of today's press release, he came out very strong in favor of banning the burqa or the niqab, which is a full face veil. And he also came out very strong in weakening the medical confidentiality rules.
That is a huge one.
They're both huge ones, and I'll tell you why. One, Germany obviously has a dark history and is very sensitive to religious issues. And by banning the burqa, could reasonably argue that that is a violation of the German Constitution for religious freedom, which the German people are obviously very sensitive to. In addition, it was very much the result of the German Wings flight, where the co-pilot intentionally flew that plane into the side of a mountain, killing all souls on board. It came out later that he in fact had consulted a therapist, a psychologist or psychiatrist, and had expressed some sort of suicidal ideation, some thoughts about suicide. However, under Germany's very strict medical confidentiality laws, his therapist, his psychologist, was not able to go to authorities. The proposal was originally that the therapist or psychologist or psychiatrist would be obligated to notify authorities when they felt that a crime or a terrorist activity was going to be committed by their patient. Now the Interior Minister has walked that back a bit.
So let me ask you about your concerns about racism, xenophobia, and these types of measures perhaps giving a false state of security while creating more division and hate.
Well, Asiya, you put your finger on the real issue here. The two of the particular provisions that are, I think, most concern to experts are the so-called banning of the burqa and the stripping of dual nationality. What that would tend to do is to marginalize an already fairly alienated community within Germany, both German citizens and recent irregular migrants, refugees, and would cause them to feel even more distant from the German body politic, a sort of us versus them mentality, which would be directly detrimental to Germany's very important efforts to coordinate and to cooperate with the Muslim community in Germany to root out individuals that may be committed to acts of violence or terrorism.
Let me talk about politics. Germany will hold elections next year. What are the political considerations going into this and these proposals?
The Interior Minister has said that he would very much like the 27 proposals, part of this so-called Berlin principle, to go into effect, to essentially be adopted by the elections September 2017. I think you'll see some real negotiating going on between now and then, and next Thursday's meeting with the state ministers is going to be very, very interesting. Politics is a huge issue here. Of course, Germany, I think appropriately so, opened its doors to over 1 million irregular migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers, individuals that were in fact fleeing terrorism, not perpetrators of terrorism. However, there have been, in fact, in 1 week, starting on July 18th, 4 different violent acts in Germany, 2 of which were attributed to individuals that were followers or committed these acts in the name of ISIL. So I think the German public is quite nervous and quite jittery about this right now.
But Germany has not seen the scale of attacks we've seen in France. Why is that?
Germany, in fact, has been blessed with not having the scale of attacks that we've seen recently or the past 18 years in France or Belgium or Turkey or certainly the United States. In fact, Germany has been criticized for taking an approach where they felt that they were, in the German translated English, heroically calm and not getting overly anxious about acts of terrorism. But it was relatively easy for them to take a very calm approach prior to acts of terrorism being committed on their own soil. Again, 4 terrorist attacks in the span of 7 days, commencing on July 18th, has completely changed the political dynamic in Germany and has caused a great deal of second guessing.
Peter Vincent, thank you so much as always.
Thank you.